Hello, welcome back everybody. We're in Bristol, in almost in Wales, but no, it's not Wales. It's just south of Wales, and we've just done the Bristol Clifton Suspension Bridge, and I'm going to fly up to RAF Valley in North Wales. So without further ado, let's get going. We're still in the F-35B, which is vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, which isn't actually true because it depends how heavy it is. It can take off and land vertically, but only if it's very, very light. Okay, gear up. Afterburners off. Before we use too much fuel. Bristol Airport. Look at all those planes. Right. It's quite a smooth aeroplane to fly, this. I am a big fan of the Tornado, you know, the GR4. It's way out of date now, it's obsolete, but it was cool. It was cool in its day. For sure, the big twin engine swing wing that I flew all the way around the world. I really like that. Anyway, there's Bristol over there, and the Bristol Suspension Bridge thing. Clifton, that's where I mean. Let's get that thing trimmed in. So we're just climbing away now. We're saving fuel. We've got 50% fuel in the tank. And according to my computer, that gives me an endurance of 0.4, which isn't much, is it? That's about 24 minutes. So I'm not going to cane it. I'm going to take it nice and easy and just head off up to Anglesey in Wales and keep an eye on the fuel situation as we go. I'm not going to do any in-flight refueling. The problem with this aircraft is it needs a lot of fuel, and it relies heavily on air-to-air refueling. Okay, especially if you're taking off with a lot of bombs and missiles and things like that. You know, there's a maximum takeoff weight. So you can't exceed your maximum takeoff weight. So you need to take off, find a tanker, fill up, because you can fill up in the sky, but then you might be too heavy to land. So you know, your weight and balance is quite a critical thing on an airplane. So you can't be too heavy and you can't be too light. Soon pick up speed. We're doing 460 knots, and our heading is 343 at the moment. There's the Bristol Channel. There's the bridge across to South Wales. We've got Cardiff over there somewhere, Swansea, and there's the Bristol Channel going right up to the got a bit fast now. It's starting to pitch and wallow, so I'm going to slow down a bit. Doesn't like going too fast, this aeroplane. It does pitch and wallow. No, come on, get your trim right, There's a trim indicator there, so that should be a lot easier. We've got the Black Hills, the Brecon Beacons and stuff like that just ahead of us, so we'll sort of go that way. Why not? Let's have a quick look outside. Look at that spooky looking spaceship thing, isn't it? That is different, isn't it? It's the latest thing that they all seem to want in the military, and they're not cheap. $100 million each apparently. Right, we'll just sit back and enjoy the journey. Can I find my way there without the map? I suppose so. I've got a good heading going there. Need to raise the nose a bit. Wind, we got 257 at 26 knots. That's coming in from the left hand side. So it's blowing us off course off to the right there. So even though we're pointing that way, we'll probably be going over there if we're not careful, so we have to compensate for wind drift. And there's South Wales, look. Hey boyo. Was our fuel 45%. Now if we go at high altitude we can go faster and use less fuel, so I might do that actually. I might just put a bit of a climb on and just slowly climb, because we're at 8,000 feet. If I get up to 20, 30,000 feet I will go a lot further and a lot faster for my fuel. I've got to make the fuel last until I get to where I want to be, and if not I've got to do an emergency landing somewhere. Hopefully I've got enough fuel. Fuel calculations are very important. And of course if you're gassing it and you're low level, you're going to use all your fuel up really quickly. If you're in the hover you're going to use your fuel up really quickly, and if you're at altitude, throttled back, zooming along at high speed, you know, you're going to go much further and much faster, which is why jet airliners, in case you go on a jet airliner, why do they fly at 30, 40,000 feet? It's because it saves fuel. They can go further and they can go faster, which means you get to where you want to be faster. And there's no point in flying lower because it's not safer flying lower. If anything, it's more dangerous to fly lower. Right, here we are, look at this. This is sort of Brecon Beacony sort of area. And this is where the army run round with packs on their back and helmets on and carrying lots of heavy things and getting cold and shivering and getting rained on and stuff like that to prove how hard they are. And good luck to them, that's what I say. Good luck, chaps. And yes, they do it all. That's where the SAS, and it's Hereford's not sort of in this area, isn't it? That's where the special forces train to carry lots of weight and run around being hard. And this is where they cut their teeth. It's not very impressive, is it? The Brecons. But I certainly wouldn't like to do that course, not at all. Eating beetles and cockroaches and things, no, not for me. I'll leave all that up to the superheroes. How fast are we going now? We're doing 310. And we're at 9,000 feet, that's good. Radalt's giving me 10,000 feet. Range 332 miles at this throttle setting, so I've got plenty of fuel then to get to Anglesey in my book. I know a lot of people are not into my flight sim videos, but I chat as well. I chat to people, I talk to people while I'm doing it, so you know, if you like listening to my voice you don't have to look at the screen, do you? You just hear me talking about a load of nonsense. Well, people often ask me, they say to me, you know, that aeroplanes, oh, which is the most difficult, which is the best, which is the, you know, they're all the same. Aeroplanes, they're all the same. They're like women, okay, they're all the same and they're all different. They're all very different. They all have different personalities, and that's aeroplanes. I've got my hands off, there's a stick over there, the joystick. I got my hands in front of me now, you can't see them because it's VR, but I've got a beer somewhere which I'm drinking as I'm flying. Well, I shouldn't drink as I'm flying, but I do, because I'm setting a bad example to younger pilots, because you shouldn't drink and fly. I very rarely used to drink beer and fly. Right, so that goes off to Milford Haven. I used to do pipeline patrols, in helicopters. I've found a picture today. I'll put it up on the. I think there's some videos on it. If you look back through my channel videos, pipeline helicopters. We used to do all these. See, what happens is this aircraft, for example, an EasyJet and stuff like that. Civilian jet airliners, they all run on Jet A1 fuel. It's called. It's like diesel. But it's not diesel, it's very similar though. But they use such vast quantities. You see, the petrol station, the garage that you fill your car up at, they send a tanker out to fill that place up, because they've got big tanks underneath the garages, and they fill the tanks up, and then you can fill your car from the pumps. But you can't do that with aeroplanes because they use so much fuel. So what they did is they dug a load of pipelines from the refineries to the airports. So the airports are constantly being fed via the pipeline all the way from the refinery. And there's a network of and gas is the same. I've never done gas pipelines, but gas pipelines supply the whole country with gas, really, going across countries. But we used to do Jet A1 for the airports. It was Esso, I think, the contract was with, and we'd fly from Milford Haven all the way to Birmingham. So I'm pretty much flying over the area now, because we used to fly up 500 feet above ground level, all the way inland to Birmingham, which is over there somewhere. So Milford Haven would be on the tip out that way. So you can see the water over there, and we can see the water ahead of us. So Milford Haven would be right on the end there, because the land gets narrower and narrower until you get to Milford Haven. So it comes from there right pretty much underneath us now, and then it heads off over to Birmingham, and it would finish near Halfpenny Green. That was one of the legs we used to do, and we used to nearly get run over by Harriers and things. I had a Harrier fly underneath the helicopter when we were flying at 500 feet. Okay, the Harrier zoomed underneath us. We're doing about 100 knots, and this thing's doing about 300-400 knots, and it just missed the helicopter by about 100 foot. And pipeline helicopters, because they operate low, they have been hit by military aircraft, and people have been killed. It does happen, it's unfortunate. Now, somebody sent me a link to the video of the police helicopter that crashed in Glasgow on top of the nightclub. I did watch that. I didn't know the outcome of that, but yeah, thanks for that video, because I watched the documentary and it turned out it was fuel. He ran out of fuel. Simple as that. Although the helicopter hadn't run out of fuel, the tanks had run out of fuel. So when the low warning fuel comes on in the cockpit, you turn the fuel pumps on, so it pumps fuel from the main tank to the smaller tanks that we're running on. Every aircraft set up differently, you've got several tanks. And we've got a thing here. Where's my, hang on, let's see if I can show you on this. Because normally aeroplanes have got fuel tanks in the wings, but they also have fuel tanks. Let me see, click that button. Is it this one? There we go. These are the fuel tanks. There's fuel 1, fuel 2, fuel 2 right, fuel 3, fuel 3 right. I'm just giving the percentages. That's the left wing, that's the right wing, and FSR. So you must have fuel tanks back there as well, and it shows the levels of the fuel, and the fuel temperature is important as well, on these jet engines. And if you want to dump fuel, you press the dump button. I'm not going to press it, but that will dump fuel, because if we're too heavy to land, we're having a bit of an emergency for some reason, we'd hit the dump button there. I'll just press it with my finger, and it'd start dumping fuel at the back of the plane, and it's like a chemtrail, if you like. people refer to. There's your fuel quantity. Look, so fuel management is very, very important. You must keep on the button with fuel management. But he had fuel gauges apparently like this, and when the fuel warning came on, he looked at the fuel gauges and thought, well, there's plenty of fuel, but the fuel gauges were faulty, and the fuel warning was telling him that the fuel was low, and he just ignored it because he thought, he looked at the fuel. So the faulty fuel gauges led to the crash, because the pilot made the wrong decision based on the information he was getting from the fuel gauges. So don't rely on the fuel gauges, you know. If the fuel warning buzzer comes on, get the fuel pumps, start transferring fuel to your active tanks, and get the aircraft on the ground as soon as possible. Fuel management is so important, it really is. It's a whole skill for pilots, it really is. Okay. Press that button. No, is it that button? There we go. So what happens if I press that one? I think, okay, so just these two are active. Okay, I'm not going to demonstrate dumping fuel because I need all the fuel I've got to get back to where I'm going. Why isn't it working? Come on. Oh, it's stuck me with this screen now. But this is what modern airplanes are like. You've got this LED display, and you can keep changing the information that it's giving you when it works. There you go, back on that. I need that one. That gives me my gross weight, my thrust, fuel flow per minute, per hour, fuel temperature and fuel total. That's very important, the fuel total there. That is critical. So we've got a fuel gauge here as well. We can see our fuel there. This is our endurance time, 0.8 at the moment of an hour. There's 6 minutes in 0.1, so 6/8. There you go. Range 279 miles so far. So it's the fuel management screen over there. This is weapons over here. This is attitude indicator and that, and this is navigation. And up here you've got autopilot controls, navigation, VORs, navigation equipment, and communications comms for frequencies we're talking to air traffic control, that sort of thing. Right, I'm going to put that down now because I've got to follow this coastline. I've got cloud cover, so it's obscuring the ground for me. I don't like to descend through cloud because you can crash into a mountain, that sort of thing, you see. So I'm currently at, I'll show you this, I'll point at it because you won't be able to see. That is my altitude, 8,500 feet. Okay, that's my airspeed, 298. And down there, that's my radar altitude. That gives me my actual altitude above the ground, but the ground can be undulating and it can change very rapidly. So we have two altimeter settings that tell us how high we are. One is air pressure, which is barometric air pressure, so it's called QNH, and QFE is the height above aerodrome level, and the other one is RADALT. I use RADALT all the time because it tells me how high I actually am above the ground, and that is what I tend to go off most of the time. An airline pilot won't have RADALT, well, he won't use RADALT, he'll use QNH all the time, and he'll be on autopilot all the time as well, which I'm not. Now the wind direction indicator is that little arrow there. That tells you which way the wind's blowing. It's coming towards us at the moment. That's 248 degrees at 32 knots. Okay, I need to descend. I don't want to get stuck above clouds, so I'm going to descend now. And I'm going to follow the coastline north until we get to valley. Got plenty of fuel, 38%. So your eyes are constantly scanning the cockpit instruments and getting all this current information. This is very important. You need current. You don't want to know what information was 5 minutes ago. You need to know what it is now. You know, because if you've got to rely on what it was 5 minutes ago, it might not be correct. Okay, visibility is getting grotty. Air density. Air is more dense at the surface than it is obviously at altitude. That's why you can go faster. And you can use less fuel when you're flying at altitude. Right, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to follow the coastline. This is all pure VFR. I've not flight planned this at all. I haven't got. If I would have gotten the map out and drawn a line, and just followed that course. That would have been much more sensible and much more direct, but I'm just literally figuring it out as I go along, making it up. I've just literally flown across Wales. This is the west coast of Wales, above the pig's nose, and I'm flying up the coastline. We've got an airport at Llanbedr near Harlech, and if I were to feel at any point that I didn't have enough fuel to make it to Valley, or if there was any doubt, then I wouldn't even try it. I'd just go straight into Llanbedr and get fuel there and then carry on. But I think we've got more than enough fuel to get to Valley. Although the weather is deteriorating, we are now at 2,800 feet and we're just at cloud base pretty much. There's only about 100 foot left, and I want to remain visual with the surface, okay? And looking visual for other traffic. Well, this aircraft's fitted with radar. I'll talk about that on another day, but I mean, it's got air radar, so you could find everything that's in the sky, even in cloud, and shoot it down if you wanted to. But I mean, I'm not into weapons and things like that. I'm a bit of a hippie, really, when it comes to killing people. I like to fly warplanes because I think they're cool, but I really don't want to drop bombs on anybody. I think that's really antisocial. Need another swig of beer. Hang on, I need to trim this in a bit. There we go. So I can let go of the stick. There we are. Jolly good. Beer and flying. Wonderful. Right. Cruising along at 380 knots, which is 0.61 of a Mach, apparently. There's difference between airspeed and ground speed because of the wind, you know, the currents and things like this, if you like. Don't worry, it's not that complicated if you're interested. So we're going to carry on following the coastline. I love following coastlines because you can't get lost following coastlines. Well, it's more difficult to get lost anyway. I learned to fly at Shoreham, so we did a lot of coastline flying. It was really easy. Really easy. You've got a map in your hand and you're following a coastline. You can't get lost. When you're in somewhere like Australia, in the middle of Australia, flying, and it's just flat and featureless in all directions, you know, that would be more challenging for navigation than following a coastline for sure. And part of VFR navigation, visual flight rules, is being able to navigate, locating things and think, yeah, there it is, I recognise that mountain over there, here it is on my map. Whereas when you've got a featureless terrain to navigate, you've got to just draw your lines and then you've got to put 6-minute markers in. So every 6 minutes you've got to think, well, I'm here now I'm here, and you go running off a stopwatch. So you think you know where you are, probably. And but, you know, you've got to think of the wind, which way is the wind blowing me off course, to the left or to the right, you know, so it does get a bit involved. It does. That's why I like my navigation to be as easy as possible. There's an aircraft carrier out there. I could go and land on an aircraft carrier. I would do that on another time. Quite easy landing on aircraft carriers and ships. It's not that difficult. Unless it's really stormy and they're bobbing up and down, then it's a bit of a faff, and you really stand a good chance of damaging your aeroplane. So we don't do it unless we have to. Wouldn't routinely land an aircraft on a pitching and rolling ship and risk causing thousands of pounds worth of damage, or writing the helicopter off and risking people's lives. You know, you don't do it unless you have to. Even these all-weather fighters, you know, I've spoken to tornado pilots in Gibraltar when they were in, and they said, oh look, it's too windy for us to operate today. And I said, too windy out by for an all-weather fighter? And they can operate in all weathers, they can, but they won't, they don't, unless they have to. because they could damage the aircraft and damage the people, and why should they, when they can just leave it in the hangar parked up and go tomorrow, because it'll be fine tomorrow. Yeah, EasyJet and British Airways were coming in and landing, and I thought, look, these people are professionals, and they're like that. Oh, I'm joking, old boy, I'm joking. Really, I am. Okay. This is the entry point for the Maclib's over there somewhere. So we're going to go a bit north now, and we're going to just fly over Lambeda. We check our fuel, 34%, that's good. Got loads of fuel there. Not worried about anything there. There's no warning signs, nothing flashing and bells ringing, so we're looking good. And hopefully we'll be light enough when we get there to do a vertical landing. If not, we'll just do a conventional landing. Nice long runway at Valley. That's where they train the fighter pilots. They always used to train them there on the really old aeroplanes. Really, really old Hawk T1s, the ones the Red Arrows use. God, they came out in the 60s, wasn't it? Or the 70s? 70s. They have got the Mark II Hawk now, because they fixed all the things that were wrong with the Mark I, and the Mark II's got a lot of better equipment on it. But even so, it's an old aeroplane, old noisy aeroplane. Once they're up in the air, they're all right. You know, not knocking the Hawk. This is Lambeda. You can see the runway there. There's about 3 runways here. Bit in and out of there loads of time. That's a good place. And we've got Harlech Castle just round the corner here. That was one of remember William Wallace, the guy who was fighting Longshanks. Longshanks was Edward I, and he built all these castles. And this big green bit in front of me, this triangular green bit, that wasn't there in his day. That was all sea. And he built his castle on this hillside just here. I don't know if you can see it. And the sea came right up to the base of that castle. There it is, that's Harlech Castle. High and dry nowadays, but Edward I Longshanks himself had that built. That was one of his major castles. Well worth a visit if you're ever in this area, if you're into history. Well worth a visit indeed, because that castle has seen loads of wars and battles and fights and things. It's a proper scrapper's castle. I'm sure the historians will fill you in and tell you all about it. So we're going to do a bit of low-level flying now, because we're coming into Snowdonia. This is the Snowdonia National Park. Mount Snowdon being the biggest mountain which is ahead of us. That is 2,600 feet high, I believe, at its peak. And we're just going to sort of wiggle round it, low level, and then fly across the Menai Strait onto the island of Anglesey. Okay, we're going to go through this crack. See this is a bit of a V. That's one of my landmarks. So we'll go through here and then we'll hang a right, quite a sharp right actually, around the other side of this hill. There's no need to be super low, because this is a stealth aircraft. It's supposed to have a very low radar. Coming around the hill there. The radar signature they call it, don't they? I'm trying to think of the word. Of course, low-level routes have to be approved by the Ministry of Defence, because you get loads of people complaining. They've all got mobile phones. Maybe probably got much reception down here, I suppose. But people are complaining all the time about noisy jets flying too low and that. And you know, you've got to practice. That's why they go to Scotland. A lot of the flying exercises and low flying stuff, and bombing especially. There's a big bombing range near Lossiemouth. They drop live bombs and fly low in Scotland because there's nobody there. Nobody cares. It's all quiet, isn't it? Whereas you go flying over towns and things, there's be a mass of people complaining and moaning. All the huffers and the puffers will be out filling in their objections. There's nothing better to do than moan and groan about stuff. As we go down the valley here, we're heading towards the Menai Strait. We've got Snowdon, the mountain off to our left. Staying in the bottom of the valley here. Quick look outside, yes, everything's looking good. So we're doing stealth anyway, and we're being stealthy. So that's pretty good, pretty good. Ooh, getting a bit fast, Pull the power back. It does pitch and wallow when you go too fast, if you get carried away. Open the tap and you don't bring the power back. It doesn't like it, it really doesn't like it. And it likes to sit at around 400 low level. We've got the Menai Strait, Menai Bridge over there, Carnarvon down there, Carnarvon Airport down there. So this is Anglesey. Once we cross the river, or Menai Strait I should say, we're in Anglesey. Menai Bridge down there, Beaumaris, that's another castle. There was a ring of steel that Edward I put up. Conway was another one, Flint, on the River Dee, Harlech, and Rutland's the other one. But he had them all over the place, keeping the crush the Welsh, because the Welsh king wasn't known as the King of Wales, he was known as the Prince of Wales. So once Edward I had killed the Prince of Wales, real Prince of Wales, he said, right, my son and heir will be crowned the Prince of Wales, and they crowned him in Harlech Castle, which is over there. And they've been crowning the heirs to the throne as the Prince of Wales to this day. I don't think William. I don't think William's been crowned the Prince of Wales, but he is the Prince of Wales. I suppose if they get round to an investiture, they might not. They might just save money by not having one. But all the heirs to the throne generally that become the Prince of Wales. Okay, wind 254, 14 knots. We'll prepare for landing. Let's have some air brakes extended because we're getting near to Valley now. There should be a runway up here ahead of us somewhere. Let's have some wheels. 260, and we're looking for 140, I think, something like that. Touchdown, so we can go there. This is Valley coming up now. Not been here for a while. We've got three greens. 35 final, and the wind is 258, 12 knots, clear to land. There we go.
500.
Getting a bit fast, Jay. Bit of an air brake. 154, that's good. Power, 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 come on. 160. Kick it straight.
30.
Flat. Hold on. Why did the parking brake come on? Is it automatic braking? Well, definitely all the air brakes are out. And we've got a disused runway there. What was it there? I suppose I have to go all the way to the end. Brakes are still on. Why are the brakes on? I didn't put them on. There we go. Brakes are off. Go down. We have arrived at Valley in Anglesey. Yeah, the F-35B. It's quite cool, actually. I do like it. Just do a bit of hovering about, shouldn't we? This is where Tim Davies used to work. He used to teach people to fly Hawks, I think, here. T2s, probably. Probably T1s as well. I don't know. Have you got any helipads here, Tim, that I can land on? XP, is it? Can't remember. Anglesey International Airport. Wonder how many international flights there are to Anglesey. Pick a number. 69 looks good. Let's park at 69. Good position, isn't it?
30.
Can crash into the pole, G. Try not to, sir. That's it. That's it. Take your time. Take your time.
30.
69, there we go. Nozzles up. Not quite on the line, but that'll do for me. So there we go, Bristol to Valley in North Wales in my own private F-35B. Cool. See you next time.